uh, what sort of games are memorable to you? You know, what got you into gaming initially when you first started playing, and what moments
Yeah.
or characters stick in your head as memorable?
Um, so what kind of games interest me? It tends to be two kind of specific things. There's obviously overlap and things like that, but it's either a game that is like aesthetically, uh, well, yeah, like aesthetically, auditory, and just in terms of its narrative is interesting.
Okay.
And then you have games which are just fun, like well, like Rainbow Six Siege. There is no story in that whatsoever. Visually, it's just kind of standard, but the gameplay itself is compelling
Yeah,
enough to keep me interested.
definitely.
In terms of what got me into gaming, well, it's a game that married the two, which is Metal Gear Solid. That was a game that was innovative both in terms of what stories video games could tell and in its combination of narrative and gameplay elements.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's probably one of the first games to do it on that scale as well.
Yeah, we should probably jump out by the way.
Yeah, let's jump out and we'll go to Junk Junction where I put on the map, like right in the corner,
Yeah.
and it won't be
Um,
hopefully it won't be busy.
in terms of moments that have stayed with me, there's there's dozens and dozens and dozens. I've been playing games for years now.
Sure.
You've got again, well, just to go into Metal Gear Solid, you have those things I was talking about with the melded narrative and gameplay, like where you have to contact a character called Meryl using a number that's on the back of the CD case, is what they tell you,
Yeah.
and you get a CD in the cutscene where this is explained. But what you actually need to do is look on the box that the game came in, which has a screenshot of you calling that person. Later on, there's a psychic character who, on the Nintendo versions, would read your mind, quote unquote. Basically, what it would do is it would read your memory card, and if there were certain notable games such as Mario or that, it would reference that, and
Right.
it wouldn't be
Okay.
the character. It was, I see that you like to play such and such game,
Right.
which
Okay. Yeah.
obviously
I was gonna ask what does it actually say, because I've never seen what he actually says to you
yeah,
before.
yeah, it's that Zone of the Elders or nah, I don't think it was Zone of the Elders, something like that. Basically, there were certain games to do with either the consoles or the developers that they could like
I've got a
get
gun for
without
you.
copyright stuff. Nice. And it would specifically reference them, obviously, and it'd say I'm going to make your hand move and vibrate the controller. And then you have your gameplay ones. One that we've actually talked about before is the end of Halo 3 when you're on the Warthogs and the music playing and that, and
Yeah.
the amount of times you do that over and over and over again, just trying to break it half the time, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like
Definitely.
that.
I think that whenever I think of that moment, the thing that I always think of is the music. It's that song.
Mhm.
That is the thing that I yeah that is the
We've
one thing, like
we've
whenever
got
someone mentions
we've
that.
got a long way to cover, by the way.
All right, we'll just clear this place out and then we'll start moving.
Yeah,
There's something about that song, man. It's just such a good score in that game.
yeah.
And what
It's just
sorry, carry on.
just things like that can elevate a game. Just those little things like Halo. The Halo series is obviously very successful, and they're not bad games. They're very good games, but things like that, like I can't imagine Halo without those pieces of music. Like I can't imagine Metal Gear Solid without those fourth wall breaks. It's just things like that.
Definitely, definitely. The fourth wall break one I think is really interesting.
Mm.
And sorry, got distracted there. Yeah, it's something that I think is totally underutilized in games, and that Metal Gear Solid is always the example of when it's used, because, and obviously they do it really well, but it's something that I can't think of that I've seen in any other game before.
Mm. Big thing where fourth wall breaks. This is more in terms of TV and movies, but the the games as well. A lot of time it's done for comedy.
Yeah,
There's this the knowing wink and nods to the audience, which is like it's fine. That it's good. It can be very effective, but Metal Gear Solid does it to mess with you basically. It's to play with your mind, which
definitely,
is
definitely.
about not as much in the first game, but in later games, the whole point is it's meant to be about questioning reality and society and that. Can you really believe what you're consuming in media, what people tell you, what people in authority tell you? And it's like the would you kindly in Bioshock. It plants that doubt in your mind.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I was saying to Sheep earlier when we were talking about Bioshock. We were talking about like the artistic value of
On a right, in front of you actually, by the fence.
an enemy.
Yeah.
We were talking about the artistic value of games, and he was saying that he called these games pieces of art, and used The Last of Us and Bioshock as examples. And where was I going with this? Sorry, completely lost my train of thought there. Bioshock, pieces of art, fourth wall breaking. Yeah, the aspects of Bioshock that have artistic value and make it a piece of art is something that's totally unique to video games, I think. Like the would you kindly thing, the fact that the creators are playing with the fact that they know that you're just going to immediately start doing what this guy says.
Well, yeah, especially in terms of video games, like it's all about getting to the next section, the next bit in the game. So how do you do that? You have people within the games, characters or text that tell you what to do. So you do it because the game told you to. And then with Bioshock, it pulls the rug out from under you, and it's quite a clever way of getting you into the mindset of the character, because obviously the character is like a mind control person, so in the same way that he is bound by what the person says, you as a gamer have learned to become like beholden to what the game tells you to do.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You realise that the game's sort of reacting to you as well as you acting upon it.
Yeah. Plays with the idea of player agency and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely, which I think is very interesting. I think Bioshock is a really good example of that. But yeah, no, it's something that again is something that I just feel like they don't play on very much. And like you said, I feel like if they do it in games, it's comedy. Like they do it in Assassin's Creed, where you're like a Ubisoft employee.
Yeah. Ubisoft employee working for the big evil company that's trying to rule the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is quite funny. I'm definitely dead.
Yeah, I think we misjudged this.
I'm so dead. I've got some bandages, but not enough. Gonna try heal up a bit. We'll see how long we can last. We'll just set ourselves to run.
Yeah, I've already seen a couple of things.
Oh,
I
I'm dead.
from the last. Oh, you got shot. Well.
They're dead too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already noticed there's a couple of things different from the last time I played this game. There's C4 and vending machines.
The C4. There's vending machines. There's guided missiles as well now.
Yeah, I saw like the clip for them.
But they're very rare. They're very rare. I've seen them a couple of times, but never like picked one up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they do update this game quite a lot, which is good. Yeah, so sorry, get back to what we were saying. There was something I was going to ask before, and we got totally sidetracked there talking about Metal Gear Solid there. Yeah, what I was going to say was, what do you remember as the first games that you ever played? I was thinking about this the other day. I was really struggling to think what the first games that I ever played was. I'm guessing Metal Gear Solid wasn't the first game that you ever played before.
No,
just the first one that
no.
really stuck with you.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Pokemon must have been a pretty early one.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like there's ones I can think of that are early ones, whether it's like the first one. I can't really say, but like Pokemon. I don't know why it's stuck in my brain, but I remember when we got our PlayStation, uh, one of the games we got was this like really bad Connect 4 game sort of thing called Pop and Pop, where it was
Right.
like balloons.
Uh-huh.
I remember nothing else apart from the game apart from it was called Pop and Pop, and there was balloons, and there was like a daddy one and a kid one. I don't
I've
remember
never
anything else
never
about
heard
it.
of that game.
Yeah, no one has.
I wonder what it was that had that stuck in your memory.
I really don't know, but I remember it. I remember like it was blue and green and red balloons. I think there was yellow ones.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a weird one. I remember this game on the PlayStation 1 that my sister used to play. And it was like a Mulan coloring in game, and
All right.
the whole game was literally just like it was a picture, like a drawing of like something from Mulan. But it was black and white,
Yeah.
and you would just fill in the colors, and that was a full
Yeah, I think there
PlayStation
was a
1 game.
yeah, yeah. I think there was a lot of kind of shovelware like that around licenses.
Yeah, definitely. The PS2 and the Wii a lot of have a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
A lot of those sort of games, just trash games.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So right, now we'll get back on track again.
Those ones. A really old football game, FA Premier League All Stars.
Uh-huh.
That was another thing I remember because I remember like the commentary and all that was really good.
Was
I
it
think
like
they had John Watson.
a football game or like a manager game?
It was like a really early FIFA kind of vibe. But have you ever played the Harry Potter PS1 games? That's another one that I remember as well, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, I think I played
Where
the
it's
first
like,
one. Yeah.
yeah, where it's like the people's heads is like a triangle that they've like shaved the edges off and like stuck a face texture to the front of.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it looked real bad, but like I remember it. It was funny. It was broken. You could No wait, no, there was that one. Then there was This Is Football, and This Is Football. You could dive, which like,
Yeah, that's a funny one. They had that in Pro Evo as well, I think, for a bit.
yeah.
And I think that that's a weird one. I was speaking to someone about the new UFC earlier on about the fact that they sort of impose these rules to say that to make the game more realistic, but they're actually taking things out of the game that either would make it more enjoyable or are even in the actual real game itself, like diving. You know, that's something that is happens in football all the time,
Mhm.
but it's not in the game for some reason. And it's the same for you can't like substitute your keeper onto like a into like a forward position.
Yeah.
But it's something that has actually been done in games before, and I think that's strange that they sort of have these like
Well, that's
rules.
kind of one of the issues in terms of video games as art, is that whilst I do believe that video games are an art form, some of them are made for purely financial reasons, purely corporate things. So like in terms of football, that's FIFA and EA protecting their products' value by not wanting it to be associated with cheating, essentially.
Yeah,
Even though it is a part of the game that's.
there's people.
Oh, I'm dead already.
I haven't got a gun.
Neither do I. I do have a med kit though.
I'll try find a gun.
I
They're,
assume this
they're
person's
hunting for me.
coming for me.
I just tried to melee him. It was 2 John Wicks. We didn't stand a chance.
Oh, it's John Wick. That's pretty cool. I did
Yeah.
not make that connection.
Well, it's meant to be John Wick anyway. It's like hinted
Yeah.
that it's him, but it's not officially him. And then apparently this Dust Lord is meant to be like a Star Lord sort of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what was I going to say before? Yeah, and yeah, it's weird that they have these. Obviously, you're saying it's protecting the brand, which makes a lot of sense. And then you have this other side of it where people sort of impose their own rules on games, and like in FIFA, how people won't score like a sweaty goal. I find really
Yeah.
interesting that like the majority of people have this sort of unwritten rule that you don't do this, and you know, if you were to play the game purely for just to win, then you would just do it, you know, because it would be the easiest way to score. But people, I guess, that like shows that people don't always just play to win, you know.
Oh, like games at their heart are meant to be fun. They can be set up or created in such a way that they can be competitive or they can be whatever. But the whole point is it's a game. You're meant to be having fun, and no one likes that person. No one likes that person who abuses like the physics of a game to get an edge and all that kind of thing. So yeah, the thing like it, there is an etiquette to gaming. People obviously shirk it, and once it gets to a certain level of competitiveness, that's going to go out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like that there's that a sense of honor, if
Yeah,
nothing
no,
else.
definitely, no, definitely, it's interesting to have that sort of dynamic to it. I think it's interesting that people do choose to play that way. But yeah, esports sort of conflicts that because, well, I guess they probably are still having fun, but I guess the fun comes from the winning.
Yeah, but it's like with esports, that those people are working. That is their job. At the end
Yeah,
of the day,
that's
you can have
very
fun.
true.
You can have fun doing your job, but you're there to win. That is you're paid to be there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hadn't thought about it like that before.
Yeah. I suppose in terms of the etiquette thing being different, when it's not in that true competitive environment, it's meant to be about, you know, making those memories and getting those kills and getting those wins and whatever. And there seems to be a big thing in video game communities with the idea of earning stuff, like the idea like you earn your wins because you were better, and if it's someone
Someone in
who's
here. All I have is a sniper though. I can't hit him.
I'm coming.
He's looking for a gun. I've got to look for another gun.
I'm a wee bit away from you.
He's got a shotgun.
I suppose people who do the competitive thing would argue that they're just using the game to be as good as they can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's killed me. Sorry, but yeah, no, they definitely can still have fun while they're playing for sure. But yeah, I never thought about the job thing before.
Yeah.
And I guess it's this. Is that the same? Is that the same for a Twitch streamer as well? Do you think?
See, Twitch streaming and stuff like that, it's in a weird sort of space, because that's broadcast entertainment. The whole point is people are there to watch you play a thing, either play it very well or they're there for your personality, sort of thing. But maybe it's just my views and stuff like that. But in terms of that, it's like the idea of supporting an independent creator. There's a much more personal relationship there. Like, yes, there is like money getting exchanged, but it's sponsorship rather than a wage. Although it is technically a wage.
Yeah.
And they do get sponsors. So
yeah. So are they sort of just giving the fans what they want to see because it's more likely to get them donations?
that will be a thing. That will absolutely be a thing. Like there's definitely a cynical side to Twitch streaming. Not to say that all Twitch streamers are cynical, but it's like anything. It's a way to make a lot of money for not necessarily a low amount of effort, but like everyone can buy a PC, get a game in that, and then obviously either you quote unquote you train and get good at the game, or you have a personality that will attract people. And
which I guess sort of just equates it to like public speaking or comedy, stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
which is strange. But yeah, no, it's a strange phenomenon, and I was speaking to Sheep about it as well, and saying that there's this like I don't know if you've maybe seen it video on it. I think it was that I watched of like in South Korea where they have like Twitch streamers who just eat food. And
Yeah, social eating.
yeah, and, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's not like a sexual thing. It's like as you said, it's like a social thing, and they have like thousands of people just watch them eat their dinner, and they like eat their dinner whilst they watch them.
Yeah, I personally don't get that either.
Well, apparently a lot of what they were saying in this video is that it was because social eating in general used to be a big thing in Korea, and if you think of all these like big hot pot dishes and all these sort of like social cooking things where they have this pot of broth in the center and they sort of add things to it and take things out, that like eating as a family or as a group used to be a big thing in South Korea, but now just because of the work ethic, I guess, and other factors as well, that that they don't eat together anymore. So it's sort of like a replacement of that, I guess. People are sort of like yearning for that feeling of like
desire for
eating as a
community,
group.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I guess that sort of translates over to Twitch streaming. That it is that like that
Yeah,
yearning for
but
communication.
yeah, it's part of why how like YouTubers and Twitch streamers and that have been able to develop such large and strong communities in such a short period of time, because it offers a way for people to interact. It's a filtered sort of reality because it's through the computer screen for people who might not be as socially confident and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
there specifically with a common interest.
Yeah.
So it can serve quite well in offering that to people. I guess that, like you're saying, it's just a cultural thing that it's developed into social eating channels.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's, you were speaking about this before, I think it's interesting that something like Twitch streaming where you're watching someone play a game is more immersive than virtual reality, which is supposed to be the most immersive thing that there is, you know. It's meant to be the next sort of step in video game immersion, when I think you often find that it's actually the opposite, and that it takes people out of the game.
I suppose in terms of that, it's I just smashed a tree and got metal.
I just found a gnome.
Nice. With Twitch streaming, in terms of it being immersive, a lot of, well, at least in my mind, I've got yeah. In terms of, at least for me, in terms of immersive things I watch Twitch streaming, it's narrative-based games, so it becomes almost a movie. I think that's maybe why it gets that more like emotional reaction than
because it
VR.
sort of engages you like a movie does.
Yeah, engage that, and it elicits kind of the memory of watching movies with someone. The idea, like, and then from that you feel like watching it with your mum or your dad or your friends. That it elicits, hopefully for most people, positive memories, and again that goes into the whole sense of community in these things. Where it's like I'm not watching someone playing a game. I'm watching this person that I enjoy play a thing that I enjoy with people who I enjoy hanging around with.
Yeah,
Whereas
definitely.
with VR, it's still very much like video games of tomorrow with the space glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's jarring for a lot of people, you know. And it's the thing that I was saying to my supervisor today. It was him that I was speaking to about it. It makes a lot of people really sick.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of people really sick. There's like a really high percentage that they don't want to talk about, of people that it makes really sick, that have just bought one for like £300 or like £700. Some of them, they put it on and within 2 minutes they start feeling dizzy.
Yeah. Well, you're asking your brain to process visual and auditory stimulation that is like directly there, where the physical feedback doesn't compute.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure the thing, like for some people, the defense response is as if they've been poisoned by a mild neurotoxin, just because there is that disconnect. Like your brain can think that you're hallucinating.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, it totally makes sense. It's but it's so yeah, it's a weird one. It's weird that your brain can process you sitting with a controller like we can both sit here now,
Hmm.
um, and play this game and talk and not think about what buttons we're pressing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But like
a.
a virtual reality where you're there isn't that disconnect, and in I guess sort of
Mhm.
on the surface it seems like it actually should be easier to play. It is actually more
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah. I was like with this, even though the physical stimulus is not like identical to the like the visual and auditory, there is like a one-to-one feedback. Like here, I hold down R2, axe swings, I get vibration of hitting tree. So that was enough there. Whereas like with say Subnautica, in your visual and auditory sense, you're underwater being chased by a sea monster where you're having to like flail your arms about, but you don't feel the water, you don't feel the thing attacking you. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's
Which,
weird that you get
yeah,
sort of almost you get a more visceral sort of feedback from the controller than you do from actually being fully immersed in it.
yeah. And maybe it's just because people aren't used to it, but it's a lot less mentally taxing to use a controller than to use like the two handheld things and also have the headset on and be mindful of not like punching the wall or a person who is next to you.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. That's something that is pretty annoying about it. Me and Jed saw a place in New York, in New York
Yike.
that was like a VR world thing, and it had loads of VR stuff, but it was like
Hmm.
$60 for a ticket.
Ouch.
And they had this one thing that was like a VR like thing that you would sit inside, and it would like move around and rotate, and that was like a theme park ride almost. And I guess it would make you think that you were like in a spaceship or like in a.
I can hear someone building this at you.
That was me. Yep. Um, yeah, or like on a roller coaster or something. You would actually feel like you were because it would be moving at the same time. I've got some potions for you here, man.
I'm just kind of looking at the, the vending machine.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
What's that? 200 stone, a
It's a
new
hunting rifle.
rifle that they added.
Yeah, it's a hunting rifle. It's like a iron sight.
Oh!
Oh, that's close.
That got a bit, that got a bit closer than I was expecting it to.
Oh, I don't have enough to. I was gonna get the hunting rifle, but I don't have enough.
I have literally no stone, or I would give it to you.
That's all good. I'll get some. Oh,
Done that
shooting.
twice now. Oh no! Next to me and on the roof. Next to me.
Oh,
Damn it.
they
Damn.
they just messed us up there. Did like no
Not doing
damage
well
there.
here.
No, this game's gotten harder, man.
Yeah.
This game's definitely
I'm out
gotten
of loop.
harder. People have gotten too good.
Yeah, sorry, what were we talking about there before?
I can't remember there, so I couldn't remember, so I was just gonna start on something new. Yeah, so I was gonna talk about characters, specific characters that you maybe remembered from games, and whether the games were third person or first person, because I feel like I've had really
Um,
mixed responses about that.
um, see, I suppose this goes into the whole thing we're talking about before, just now about immersion. That's what we're talking about, immersion.
That's it, yeah, virtual reality, yeah, immersion, yeah.
Because logic would dictate that first-person games should have a leg up on third-person games, because in third-person games it's very obvious that you're controlling an avatar.
Yeah,
You see it on the screen. Whereas the first person it's through the eyes of that. But then first person games a lot of the time fall into a kind of catch-22, where either they have a silent protagonist, which in its own way can be immersive because like they're not talking, so it could be anyone really who's playing, but then it's someone who doesn't really respond to anything around them. or you have a voiced character, at which point anyone who doesn't sound like the first-person character doesn't have that immersive response. So a lot of the time, the characters I've found more interesting in terms of the ones I've been playing onwards, a lot of the time it is in third-person games. Like, shockingly, I remember most of the people from Metal Gear games. Very interesting stuff like that. It's very much the more narrative-based games that I was talking about at the start that stick with you. If beyond like a kind of class thing like Siege, I remember the names of operators of it, like now, finally, after like playing the game for a fair amount. But if you'd asked me like a week into playing the game, I probably couldn't name very many of them.
Yeah.
They're not that memorable. You remember them through the associated experiences you have. Yeah, pretty much. I was saying, you remember like Ela. I remember Ela very quickly, but it took me forever to remember like Rook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get killed by Ela all the time.
Yeah. What was the specific word in the question?
It was characters. It was memorable characters we were speaking about.
Just memorable characters.
Yeah, and how maybe the camera angle played into that. But you sort of answered that part already.
Yeah. I remember characters. Alex Vance from Half-Life 2 was quite an interesting character. That's one that people have talked to. At least they were back in the day, about a positive
There's
female
a golden
character.
scar here, mate.
Oh boy.
Do you want it?
Do you not want it?
No, you can take it, bro.
Where is it?
It's here.
It's there. Oh.
Enjoy.
I can give you a blue pump if you.
No, that's alright. I got a blue submachine gun.
Nice.
Oh, there's enemies here, mate, and one of them's got a rocket launcher.
Where?
They're on the southwestern side of the building. Just saw them slide down. They could be in the house, maybe.
They were inside the house the whole time.
So yeah, Alex Vance, you're saying about as a positive female character that you remember.
Yeah, just because at least at that time, like, video games have been doing a lot of growing up over the last little while. So a lot. Well, again, it was like early movies where a lot of female roles were kind of your damsels in distress or a prize to be won for the hero, whereas Alex Vance was actually very capable, interesting, flawed character who wasn't defined by the fact that she was a woman. She was quite good for that. Valve games, I've actually got quite a few memorable characters, like GLaDOS.
Yeah.
There's a very memorable character, and the various like personality spheres were very good.
Yeah, definitely.
To be honest, memorable video game characters, it depends how long you want me to talk about it, because there's plenty I can remember.
No. Give us another one, and then I've got a follow-up question for you.
One more, I'm trying to think. I'll go with Tommy Vercetti for Vice City.
Yeah.
He's a memorable character because he was. Again, that part of that is because I played that game when I was younger than I should have been, so it became this kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, playing the adult game, but
yeah.
Like it's Ray Liotta. It's Ray Liotta and Goodfellas turned up to like 11 in a blue Hawaiian shirt with 80s music. It was pretty great.
Yeah, definitely.
And his buddy Lance Vance.
Yeah,
Thanks for the Lance Vance stance.
Alex Vance and Lance Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
color.
Oh yeah, there you go. And you kill him with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, what was your follow-up question?
Yeah, so the follow-up question was if any of these characters were ones that you played as when you made decisions in the game. Did you feel like you were what basis was there basically for your decision making as these characters?
It depends on the type of game. If it was like an open world RPG, like it was an actual thing where you can make decisions, first time round, I always go like a kind of goody two shoes. First time round, always like kind of upstanding more, because a lot of times in games, the binary choice being like good and evil is sort of obvious. So it's like, I don't know why I would want to be mean to everyone the first time round.
Yeah.
Second time round, when like I've done everything and I've developed grudges with people in the game through stuff, I'll go back and be horrible. But
Yeah.
first time round, I'm almost in like your kind of more focused experiences. Going back to it again, Metal Gear Solid. In terms of the narrative and tone and even like the character design of Solid Snake, it is very much goes into its tagline, which is stealth, espionage, action, in that order.
Yeah.
Oh, there's people. 331. Just going into that big building.
Yeah. I see.
So in that game, like it, obviously, young kid me wasn't the best at the stealth, so it would go wrong, and then it would just go full action, killing all the people.
Sure.
But there was always a very concerted effort to play the game, I suppose, quote unquote, play the game the right way, the way
Right,
that it's
okay,
meant to
yeah.
be played.
Right.
sort of
Okay.
thing.
So if for example there were a game where it were beneficial to make bad decisions, would you make the bad decisions? Say morally bad decisions. What would be considered morally bad decisions?
Depends how good the writing in the game is, I guess.
Right. Okay.
It's the deciding factor. If a game... Oh,
What the hell?
Shot of a rocket. Is that a rocket
I'm
one?
dead.
Yep.
I never even saw him. He's coming for you.
If a game can give me a compelling enough reason to be bad, I will consider it. Or on the flip side, if the game is kind of weak in making me feel bad for being bad, I will absolutely be bad. Case in point, the Fallout games. I do not feel bad at all being like a monster in those games.
Right. Okay.
Because more so in like Fallout 3 and New Vegas than and this guy likes there's two of them.
Oh, lucky.
I kinda expected the golden scar to do a bit more at the end there.
Yeah, definitely. They were pretty good though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bell curve. If it's really convincing to like where like being bad is actually beneficial, sure, why not? Or if it doesn't seem like being bad will seriously negative affect me in any way, then sure, why not?
Cool. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Plus there is that kind of desire to experience everything the game has to offer. Like, you've paid money to do it, why would you not do everything that you can do, basically,
Yeah, definitely.
in terms of a narrative sense.
That makes sense. And yeah, what was I gonna say? Do you, when you make these sort of decisions, do you feel like you're making them as you would make them in that situation, perhaps, or more as in you make them in the way that you think the character would?
When I'm being good,
Yeah.
but in saying that, it's the aspirational idea of games, the escapism. Like, you go into these like really tough situations where you have to make a tough call and you make the morally correct one, because whilst there's stakes in the game, there's no personal stake for you yourself. It's just the game goes on. But I've done it a lot with either Telltale games or with The Witcher.
Yeah.
With Telltale games, obviously it's based around making these choices. So if I really couldn't make a decision, I would fall back onto how would the character as I played them react to this situation. There's a excellent quest in The Witcher 3 where basically you come across this village that's been destroyed, and apart from this little girl, you find this little girl who's terrified of you, It transpires that another Witcher basically went rogue and massacred this whole town apart from this girl and like ran off the woods. So you're like, right, I need to go find this Witcher and put him down basically, because a rogue Witcher is bad for all of them and he's done a terrible thing. And then you find the Witcher and he's wounded because what his series of events is they hire him to do a contract, a monster contract. He accepted it, even though it was like less than he would really want to be paid for it. He accepted it, went and did it, came back, and then the villagers tried to cheat him out of payment, and he got angry at that, and then swords were drawn, he got wounded, he killed all of them.
Right.
He actually says that they attempted to murder him, which may or that's the whole point. It may or may not be true. You can't tell because everyone else is dead. Which speaks to Geralt, because well, the whole thing is that people are horrified and scared of Witchers. There's like a lot of superstition around them. People don't trust them, and you spend the whole game people calling you subhuman and mutant and monster lover and all this, like all these horrible things. So you kind of get it, even though he's like murdered a whole bunch of people. You can understand why someone who's been subjected to the life that they have would maybe react that way, and then it gives you the decision, well, do you let him go or do you kill him? And I really struggled with that choice, but so I fell back on my second thing, which was how would Geralt, as I've played him this way, react? And I'd been your kind of hardcore lawful good-ish, like lawful good, don't spill the blood of innocence sort of thing. So according to the moral code that I had done, I killed him first time round. Second time round was doing your kind of renegade Witcher, and I let him go, and in both ways it kind of felt right, and in both well, the second time I'd picked the first link, but that like both ways, even knowing the two ways that quest ended, I feel that both of them were correct in their own way, because I'd fallen back on that archetypal thing in Geralt. It made sense both ways.
Yeah. Right. Okay, that's interesting.
That was a lot longer answer than I was meaning it to be, but yeah.
No. That's interesting. That's interesting. I haven't played it myself. It's the fantasy thing that I can't really get into, but I've heard only really good things about it. And it's always little things like that, you know. It's the little details in a little quest somewhere, you know, that someone always mentions, which I think is testament to how good it is. That it's not like, oh, this huge set piece, you know, this amazing boss fight or this really cool Ghana bar. It's just a little detail that people always pick out, you know, something that just spoke to them.
Yeah, it's a line in that scene. It was Ben actually that like properly made me appreciate the significance of it, which is if you do the you let him live option. And it's like he just explains all this to you, and Geralt's like, it's like, yeah, you don't have to tell me, sometimes heads just roll. Which is an allusion to something that's not in the games, it's in the books, which is what was like? He's called Geralt's one of his nicknames is the Butcher of Blaviken. This thing where he just like killed a whole bunch of people and stuff like that. And Geralt himself has been on the end of random villagers' wrath, refusing to pay them, and riots and stuff like that. Like Geralt got killed by a stable boy stabbing him in the gut with a pitchfork, and the whole thing. It was like an ugly, dirty way to die, and then he got revived through magic kind of stuff. So
Right, okay.
it's one of the things, because like you play Geralt and he's a video game character and you run about, you kill stuff and that, and then there's bits like that where you're just kind of like, oh, he's like Geralt is like an actual person who's experienced these things and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely, and it's interesting that comes from the books as well.
Yeah.
It's there's a few video game series like that where you get that the exposition, like the context from the books. Well, and I guess other things as well, but the books ones are weird.
like another quote that basically it sums up again and again. It works for both Geralts in terms of what it is.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing with the Witchers, you've seen it, is the two swords that they have, which is silver and steel. Silver and steel is the thing, and silver's for your it's for like ghosts and werewolves and all your magic-y stuff. It's like the classic thing that these monsters are weak to silver. And the steel one is for like quote-unquote normal things, which is like people, dogs, stuff like that. And like someone's talking to them and says, I got the two swords and that. Is like, yeah, I've got the silver for beasts out in the wilds and steel for the man in his stone halls, both for monsters. It's quite a nice little thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah. So you get me gushing about The Witcher, I'll be here all night.
That's funny. Well, I'll switch on to something else then. Carrying on from what I was saying there about the Witcher books and how interesting that you can get that sort of information from something other than the game. And what I was going to mention was another topic that you're probably going to have a lot to say about is Dark Souls, where a lot of what you learn from the game is not in the game. There's so much exposition and from outside, and not even just exposition necessarily for the narrative, but also just how to play the game, tutorials and walkthroughs and guides and all these different things.
It has become a kind of defining characteristic of the Dark Souls series. It's notorious for these really obscure answers to things that you have to do in that. Like, I really don't know how the people originally figured out some of the stuff, because it just makes no obvious sense. Obviously, like, it must make sense, like, if you go into item descriptions and you read into the lore and stuff like that, but like you're saying, the lore isn't set in stone. It's very deliberately that way. There's like lots of, like, there's whole YouTube channels dedicated to interpreting lore based on armor, potions, and architecture of buildings and stuff like that. It is very much, that's that idea of community that we've talked about before. There is very much that kind of thing within the Dark Souls community about, one, you lend new people a hand for your walkways and stuff like that, while simultaneously telling them to get good, obviously. And yeah, there's just like all these debates on Reddit and on other stuff about what things really mean, and no one really knows for sure apart from the team who developed it, and they're not saying anything deliberately about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Just so it's, yeah.
And as a part of that sort of subculture of it, what's it like? What is it that people like about it so much? What is it that you like about it? Yeah, and what is it that people? Why do people like it so much? Why do you like it so much? And what is it you think about the sort of game it is that has people so engaged in it?
I think it's a lot of different things. Me, like a lot of people. Anyway, sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, sorry to contextualize a bit better, because on paper, a very difficult game like that is going to put a lot of people off, but it has a very dedicated fan base, and not just because of the difficulty. That's not what I'm trying to say, but there's a lot of people who really, really like that type of game, and there aren't many other types of game like that.
Yeah. It's just odd in terms of Dark Souls that something that is, like you're saying, it's very much a niche experience, has got to such a level of popularity that it has rip-offs.
Yeah.
Like the Surge and all that kind of stuff. But what interests me in Dark Souls, like a lot of people initially bought the game on sale because, oh, this game is really hard, you won't be able to beat it. So I played it and it was really hard and I wasn't able to beat it, and I traded it in, but then I went and I bought it back and I did the same, and it was Bloodborne that finally got me into the From Software kind of thing, because it's the same kind of idea with Metal Gear Solid, I guess, where it was a marrying of narrative, aesthetic, and gameplay in such a way that was really compelling. Because like Dark Souls, like the actual finished product, we've talked about this before, isn't necessarily a particularly nice looking game. Dark Souls 1 especially, and Dark Souls 2 really. Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne look very nice because they're PS4 games, like they're going to look a certain level of nice, but the original ones, but they had such a cohesive art style, and the soundtrack was crafted in such a way, and everything like everything just kind of fits together nicely. Even like the janky stuff kind of fitted because of this oppressive atmosphere and feel. Like the whole game, what was it? The tagline of the original Dark Souls is "Prepare to die."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you start the game as a hollowed husk of a being, this little naked man or woman in like a loincloth in this forgotten asylum, and then from that you build up, you get stronger, you get better armor and weapons and training and stuff until you fight basically like Zeus.
Yeah.
And the whole time you still feel like the underdog, which in its own way is quite compelling. And again, like that's like the point, that's the whole point of the story, is that it's like everything's futile, that like existence is like light, the literal thing of light is like fading out of existence, and you do this thing and you relight it, and that's like very good. It's your classic hero's journey thing, and that's all well and good. And then you realise that this whole thing about like rekindling the fire might not be the good ending, and that's, for me, that's what elevated it from like a really good hard game to the thing that I like so much, is it's nothing is particularly new or interesting about it at face value, but the more you put into the game, both in terms of how much you play it, and you learn the mechanics and the animations and the little quirks of the physics engine that mean that you can do things, you learn that, and then you start reading item descriptions and you start learning about this Byzantine empire of different things and dragons and stuff like that. So I think that's probably what's more rewarding it is. The more effort you put into Dark Souls, the more you get out of it. It's
Right,
just
okay,
getting
yeah.
over that initial hump of difficulty, which, to be honest, I try not to think this way, but there probably is a part of it in me and a part in other people, is you're not one of the people that got to the difficult bit and gave up.
Yeah.
There's that a sense of achievement in that probably harkens back to your old games, because old games were notoriously hard, because either because they were trying to get your quarters, or just because they were short and you had to do like a replay.
Yeah.
And then games became more accessible and stuff like that, and they had more room so they could give you like saves and respawns and things. And Dark Souls is it's a nice middle point, because like there's a reason that the games got more accessible as time went on. But it's harsh but fair, Dark Souls. And because it's like it's accepted that you're going to die a lot, you get angry. Trust me, I've got real angry at Dark Souls. I think you've seen me get angry at Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But it's got that. Fortnite is quite another example of it. It's got that one more quality to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Isn't
definitely.
that, unless you get properly angry at that, or you need to do something, like you're saying you'll die, and go, I'll do it one more time, and then you're there for like another 2-3 hours.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's interesting that you can just sort of repeat these same bits over and over again, trying to get better, you know, wanting to play one more sort of thing. It's an interesting part of it. And I think it is really interesting as well in that you do in the game start as this hollow husk, essentially, and you're not really a developed character. You're not, you don't have a personality per se. You're sort of basically the manifestation of everyone's deaths previous.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
That's the thing.
And you can still have this, you know. Sorry, continue.
No, it's like this, like adding that, like in terms of marrying gameplay and narrative.
Yeah.
Every iteration of your character in each of the games is canon, because it's fractured in timelines, and in the idea of like Dark Souls, you die and are reborn in the flame. So like the act of loading and respawning is in and of itself a thematic piece sort of thing. And like, yeah, there's like that. And
Right.
like
Okay.
by the
Okay.
end of, yeah, and by the end of Dark Souls 3, like you're saying, your guy is literally the ash of all the people who failed to light the fires and all that thing, and from all these failures, both in terms of the narrative and in terms of gameplay of characters that people have had and who didn't finish the game, if you want to really reach for it with your English lit stuff, forms the final character. And then the final boss of that game is the soul of Cinder. So that's the souls combined of all the people who have lit the flames, which again, if you're going for you're reaching for your subtext, is every person who's completed the game's character is technically in that boss. But none of them are really, in terms of like the story. It's just about like Gwyn and the characters from Dark Souls 2 and 1. But you can interpret it that way if you want to, which
Right.
is
Right.
quite
Okay.
a fun little thing.
Yeah. Definitely. That is interesting. That's interesting how it like in similarly to Metal Gear Solid, it plays on the actual mechanisms of the game in engaging you in it. So maybe it does happen in more games than I think then. That's
It's a difference.
3 that we thought
there's
of.
there's a difference between doing a thing and doing it well, doing it memorably.
Yeah.
I think is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, at least for the time being, no other game will be Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like, no one can come near it. No other game will be Metal Gear Solid, including Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Survive is not Metal Gear.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've got anything else to touch on. We've just been chatting away, but we've been covering everything, which is good. The only other thing that I think that I hadn't mentioned was using mods. We sort of touched on things like game guides and walkthroughs, and we touched on Twitch and that. So I think the only other thing really was if you'd used mods if you'd ever used mods in a game before, and what your experiences of it were.
It depends on what mods you mean, which I suppose is the point of the question. Because you have like your creative mods, like they add like new weapons or maps or quests or whatever to the game. I've not played a lot of them. I've played like certain things like that. Like for Mountain Blade Warband, there was a thing where it changed it into the setting in like characters from Game of Thrones. That was quite good fun.
Right. Okay.
But then you get mods which are cheats basically, which I quite strongly disagree